We are, as I said earlier, wrapping up a series exploring what makes TNL TNL. What are our values? What do we care about? What's unique to us as a church, as an expression of Christ Church? And I hope it's been a meaningful series for you. I'm excited for tonight. I'm excited to kind of put a bow on this thing. Tonight I'm going to try to wrap things up by tying everything that we've been talking about together, whittling it all down into one statement that captures who we are and what we're all about. To do that, we're first going to look at three different ideas that we kind of want to hold in our heads simultaneously. The first is something that we talked about last week. We looked at the passage from John 15 where Jesus talks about he is the vine and we are the branches, and that our job is to remain in him. And basically what we gleaned from that passage is that you cannot love God without loving others. And so there's this interconnected and synergistic relationship between the two commands, love God and love others. I was trying to explain it last week, and I should have just made this image, but you can think of it kind of like this. To love God means to grow to be more like Jesus so that we can love others. And as we love others, we grow to be more like Jesus, which allows us to love others better, which allows us to grow to be more like Jesus. That was the big idea of last week. And that's the first idea for tonight. Idea number two, this is an idea that we've talked about before, but this is one that's at least 4,000 years old, but continues to be revolutionary and countercultural. And it first appears early in the first book of the Bible in Genesis chapter 12. This is God's call to Abraham. Abraham is the father or the patriarch or the founder, the root of the people who would become the nation of Israel. Really, he is the founder of everyone who follows God, including you and I. This is God's first call to the man who established the people of God. And one of the things that God says to Abraham in Genesis chapter 12 is this: I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on the earth will be blessed through you. I will bless you to be a blessing to the whole world. You are blessed to be a blessing. Now, on the surface, that might not strike you as being very revolutionary, but I think this is an incredibly profound idea, certainly, if nothing else, just in the history of humanity. Consider this. Abraham lived in the ancient Near East in Sumer, in a culture and a time where one's tribe was everything. Your tribe was your heritage, your family, your existence, your identity, everything. Individuals mattered very little beyond what they brought to the collective, to the tribe. The point of your life was try to do everything you could to avoid detracting from your tribe and do everything you could to expand it. So accumulate as much material wealth as you possibly could, have as many kids as you can, conquer any other tribes that threaten you. Nothing else, no one else mattered but your tribe. Everything was about preserving and propagating and promoting your people. In some ways, not much has changed in 4,000 years. But in this context, God's calling to Abraham is revolutionary for a number of reasons. First, it's crazy for God to call Abraham to leave his tribe to start a new one. You didn't do that. That was pure insanity at this point in time. It was suicide. Second, Abraham has no kids at this point. And one of the only details that we know about him at this point is that he and his wife are unable to have kids. The primary way that you propagate and certainly start a tribe is through offspring. There's a couple other reasons why it's revolutionary, but for our focus, the most profound aspect of God's calling to Abraham is that the point of this tribe that he was supposed to create wasn't to make this tribe the greatest, like the point of every other tribe was, to try to be the top. Instead, the point of this tribe was to be the means through which God would bless all other tribes, to be the means through which God would bless the whole world. This tribe was to exist so that God could bless the rest of the world through it. This is a radically innovative and progressive idea in the midst of barbaric tribal culture, and I think it continues to be a radical idea. This is God's call to his people, that you are blessed to be a blessing. This is the idea that God continually calls the people of Israel back to over and over again. When you read the prophets in the Old Testament, it is a constant refrain. And in the New Testament, it's the call that Jesus instilled in his disciples, to love others as much as you love yourself. It's the picture of what the church is meant to be, and Paul actually describes this very thing in 2 Corinthians 9 when he says, "We've been blessed in every way in order to be generous in every way, so that through our generosity the world would come to express thanksgiving to God." So God's call to his people 4,000 years ago, over and over again throughout history, is the same for us today. We are blessed to be a blessing. We've been blessed in every way so that we can be generous in every way. That's idea number 2. The third and final idea comes from the book of Hebrews. The writer of Hebrews is talking to the church about how Jesus' death and resurrection allow us to live now, today. Particularly how it allows us to interact with God in new ways. So they write this: "Brothers and sisters, since we have every confidence to come before God by the blood of Jesus, by a new and living way opened for us through his death and resurrection, let us draw near to God with a sincere heart and with the full assurance that faith brings, having our hearts sprinkled to cleanse us from a guilty conscience and having our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." The day that he's referring to is Jesus coming back. But the word that is translated here where he says we should spur on one another towards acts of love and good deeds means literally to provoke or to incite. And I just love that idea. Because of Jesus as a church, we're meant to draw near to God, but also to provoke and to incite one another to greater love for others, and then to put that love in action. So we're to draw near to God and incite one another to love and good works. That's the third idea. So bringing this all together, love God. To love God means to grow to be more like Jesus, which means you have to love others, which allows you to grow to be more like Jesus, which means you are going to be better at loving others. Idea number 1. Idea number 2, we've been blessed in every way to be generous in every way. And then this last idea we just talked about, we're to draw near to God and to incite one another to love and good works. We tie all of this together with this statement that's central to who we are as a church. As TNL Church, together we are growing into the people that God created us to be as we join God to incite love, reduce suffering, and increase joy. Similar to last week, these are two synergistic ideas that build off of one another. So you could also say it, we're joining God to incite love, reduce suffering, and increase joy as we're growing into the people God created us to be. These two things work in tandem together. But what does that mean for us? What does that actually look like? It means that we're going to continue to draw near to God, a God who's drawn near to us. We will continue to foster a culture of radical acceptance around here, which is why, again, we say you're accepted here just as you are every single week. But we want that culture to include radical acceptance coupled with a understanding that there's a challenge and encouragement and expectation that we will be growing, that we will be changing, that we will be growing more and more into the people that God created us to be. That means that we'll continue intentionally taking time every week to come together on Tuesday nights to be reminded of and respond to who God is and what he has said as we worship and learn together. It means we'll continue to expand and enhance our kid and youth ministries, instilling these values in the next generation of followers of Jesus. It means we'll continue to find ways to engage in expressions of worship beyond our weekly gatherings through things like nights of music and reflections, prayer nights, days in silence, things like this. I mentioned last week I'm hoping to create a formation group exploring more in-depth different spiritual disciplines, and I'm hoping to kick that up after summer, probably around September. It means we're going to continue to provide space to form and enrich our relationships through things like community dinners before Tuesday nights, morning and night shifts, happy hours, which are coming back at the end of May, Places where we can connect in deeper ways and be known and know others. Opportunities to learn and grow and enrich relationships. I talked about this a little bit last week. These are things that we hope to do in the future. Workshops and learning communities around marriage and dating and parenting. We are in the process of trying to figure out how to do a parents' night out again, or a caretaker's night out again here in the coming future, where you can drop your kids off here for a couple hours and go out and have a date night, and we will watch them and take care of them free of charge. It means we're going to continue fostering a culture of generosity around here, where we're shaped to be generous with all our resources, like we say every week, relationships, time, possessions, and money, until there is no one in need among us. Which gives me an opportunity to remind you that we have a grace fund that we raised a couple of years ago for any needs that arise in the community. And we also have recently made a relationship with a new benevolent major donor that has basically told me, any needs that arise within your community, please let me know and we will take care of it. So, as an encouragement, if you are struggling in any way that we could help you with, please let me know and I can try to figure out resources that we can get to you. It can be things, it can be anything really. I mean, we have paid for counseling for people, we've replaced hot water heaters, we've covered rent, we've helped with car repairs, like anything that we can do to be generous toward you as a member of this community, we are all about. So please let me know. But these things can't just stop here. Our efforts to incite love and reduce suffering and increase joy can't remain within our community. This is what I said we'd be talking about last week, that we'd be talking about this week. It has to pour out beyond the confines of this community. Inciting love, reducing suffering, and increasing joy for people who never step foot in our church, and maybe any church ever. We want the world around us to be incited to love, to have their suffering reduced and their joy increased simply because we exist in proximity to them. So that means we'll continue supporting the work of that others are doing around the world. We'll continue to support the Terpstra family and their incredible work in Mozambique. We will continue supporting Haley Black and her work in Hungary for the next couple months. She's actually wrapping up her time there and is moving back home. And as opportunities arise, we'll continue to financially and relationally invest in other partners around the world. This means we'll continue finding organizations to bless every year by raising a financial gift every Christmas that we do as part of our Christmas campaign. But I still feel like this is not enough. An area that we have lacked really since COVID is a local expression of us reaching out to the community beyond TNL that we all actually can tangibly be a part of. For 18 years, this was Royal Family Kids Camp, a summer camp that we put on for kids in the foster care system that I would love to maybe get back to hosting again one day. But for now, since we've moved to this location, we've spent years trying to find ways that we could come alongside nonprofits and social enterprises. And we just haven't had any luck until recently. We finally have some traction, thanks in many ways to the work that Matt Wilcox has been doing. Our goal now is to support one social enterprise or nonprofit or charity every month. And so we've got the next 3 months planned out, which around here is pretty great if we are 3 months ahead of things. So in May, we're going to be partnering with Purple Door Coffee. That's where we get coffee from, if you notice when you come in. They are a social enterprise helping lift homeless teens out of homelessness. And so we don't have an exact date yet, but some date late in May, on one weekend, we're going to help organize their roasting space that they asked us if we could help out with. So we will announce more details about that as we get closer to it, but that's hopefully our partner for May. June, I'm very excited about, is June will be our Habitat for Humanity Build Day. If you remember back in Christmas, we raised money to host a build day, and now we get to actually go build on the build day. So obviously Habitat for Humanity deals with affordable housing, and we get to be a part of putting up one of the houses in their new development on June 29th. There are a number of rules around a build day, and we need about 20 of us to make it all work. So if you are interested at all, I would encourage you to please go to tnl.org/habitat and look around. It links to their page, which has a big, not big, but several FAQ questions that kind of let you know what to expect. And we'll put out more information as we get closer. But the most important thing is that we have to have everyone who wants to come registered 2 weeks ahead of time. So by June 14th. So I know that we as TNLers like to do everything the day of, but that can't happen here. So if you are wanting to be a part of this, and I hope that you are, please register as soon as you possibly can, and that way we will be good to go for that. But I'm very excited about that, June 29th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And then July, we are partnering with Save Our Youth to run a backpack drive for back to school for kids in low-income families. And we'll have more info on that as we get closer to July. But hopefully this is just the start. I feel, it feels like maybe more than ever, God really pushing us to start showing up in the South Denver metro area. And so we'll continue to find creative ways to join him, to incite love and reduce suffering and increase joy. But this is what we're about. This is what it means to be a part of TNL. This is who we are. This is who God has called us to be. We've been in survival mode for many, many years, just trying to keep our heads above water. And I hope and I pray and for a voice that works, I feel like in many ways, I'm being encouraged to believe that things are going to shift. It's time for our church to stop just surviving and to start flourishing, growing into the people that God created us to be as we join God to incite love, reduce suffering, and increase joy. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I want this place to be packed out on Tuesday nights, and we've got plenty of room for that. And I want that not because we're cool or we have good music or because we have great coffee from Purple Door or good teaching or groups or kids ministry or youth group or any of the things that make up a church. But because God is here and his presence is undeniable and obvious through the ways that we grow together and the ways that we love each other and the ways that we use how we've been blessed to be generous to others. I want TNL to be a thriving church full of broken but growing people caught up in what God is doing. Joining God in the places that we live and work and learn everywhere where we show up. I want us to be a church of people whose lives are fundamentally characterized by growing into the people that he created us to be as we join him to incite love and reduce suffering and increase joy. Would you pray with me? God, that is our prayer. I feel like it's what you have called us to and challenged us with. And God, it's what we are committing to aim for together. To grow into the people that you have called us to be. And to show up in the world in ways that incite love for you and others. And through radical generosity, working to reduce suffering and increase joy in the world. In our lives, in each other's lives, and in the lives of people who would otherwise never come in contact with the church. God, I pray that people would see you and give thanks to you through the ways that we are generous and the ways that we love one another. God, thank you for the gift of this place. Thank you for the ways that you have cared for us all of these years. God, I pray for what I said. I pray for the end of our survival mode and the beginning of flourishing towards this vision and mission that you have given us. We love you, God. Amen.